What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video, I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different. Because for today's video, I'm actually going to be revealing my predictions for NXT Vengeance Day, which will be coming up this coming Tuesday on SyFy. And the reason why it's going to be on SyFy is because of the Winter Olympics. Big shout outs to everybody who is participating in the Winter Olympics. Shout outs to you guys. Anyway, let's get straight into it. There are actually, I believe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 matches on the card as it stands. And we have exactly 1, 2, 3 titles defended, which is insane. Very, very insane. Very, just absolutely insane. Not much else to say about it. It is just insane. That being said, give me a second, guys. Hang on, guys. Let's see. Hang on, guys. It's trying to find the rest of the card, or I guess not. Alright, never mind. Anyway, guys. So the card as it stands is this. We've got the Creed Brothers versus MSK in the Men's Dusty Cup Finals. We got Carmella Hayes versus Cameron Grimes for the NXT North American title. We've got Gigi Dolan and JC Jane of Toxic Attraction against Indy Hartwell and Persia Parada for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. We got Tony Dangelo and the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne in a weaponized steel cage. And Bron Breakker versus Santos Escobar for the NXT title. Now, the Men's Dusty Cup had a very interesting turn of events, to say the very least. Because the bracket was insane. It was absolutely insane. The bracket was as follows. The first round we had MSK versus Jacket Time, Malik Blade and Adrius Enofe versus Legado del Fantasma. Then we had Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen versus the Creed Brothers. And then, of course, the Grizzled Young Veterans against the team of Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward of Andre Chase University. And in the semifinals, we had MSK and of course the team of Adrius Enofe and Malik Blade versus and then of course the Creed Brothers versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. Now it's down to the Creed Brothers versus MSK. The question is, can MSK run it back once again? Honestly, no, it's not possible. And the reason why I say that it's not possible is because trying to win something a second time is like going to a basketball court, shooting a full court shot and trying to go for it again. It's not possible. It's not possible. If MSK pulls it off, I will be surprised. But there's no way in hell that they're gonna do it. I'm gonna say the Creed Brothers. I'm gonna say that the Creed Brothers are going to pick up that victory. If MSK wins it, I will be surprised. But with how dominant the Creed Brothers have been since coming to NXT, I think they might be able to pull it off. Next up, we got Carmella Hayes versus Cameron Grimes for the North American title. This is a rivalry that's been going on, that's been brewing for the last few weeks, and it was over the fact that over the fact that Carmelo Hayes kept calling himself the A champion in NXT, but in reality, it's Bron Breakker who's the A champion. He's the NXT champion. The North American title is more like some people have said that the North American title is more of a mid-card championship, which I don't see it that way, honestly. But the one thing that Cameron Grimes needs to look out for are three things. Number one is obviously Trick Williams. Number two is the underhanded tactics of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. And the third is he has to be careful he has to be careful with his emotions, while at the same time get Carmelo while at the same time get Carmelo Hayes to just go off. If he can somehow do that, then Cameron Grimes might be able to pull it off. But let's not forget, Cameron Grimes is a former $1 million champion, which is a very interesting title because there have only been 6 men, himself included. Other than Cameron Grimes, there have been 5 other men who have held the title. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, Virgil, Stone Cold Steve Austin, DiBiase's son, Ted DiBiase Jr., and L.A. Knight. And then, of course, again, Cameron Grimes. That's 6 men. 6 men have held the $1 million title. So, other than that title, there hasn't been a whole lot that Grimes has done, but he has done quite a bit for NXT since joining the roster a couple of years ago. Back in 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. He is right now the biggest threat to Carmelo Hayes' reign as champion. So I think Cameron Grimes might be able to pull it off. But let's be real. Trick Williams is going to get involved. Hayes is going to cheat. He's going to win. So let's just keep it real on that. Then, of course, we got Toxic Attraction versus Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. And if you guys are wondering where I'm getting the card from, I'm actually getting this off of Pro Wrestling Wiki. So big shout outs to that page. No copyrights, of course. So if you were to compare this card before I move on with the Women's Tag Team title match, if you look at this card compared to last year's card, it was very intriguing to say the very least. The dark match was Bronson Reed versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, both of which are now no longer with WWE, which is unfortunate. Bronson Reed ended up defeating Swerve in that dark match, which I think was like the bonus match that they had streamed on YouTube last year. Then of course we had and then to kick off the show, we had Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez defeat Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart in the Women's Dusty Cup final, where they would receive a future shot at the Women's Tag Team titles, which was an incredible match between the two teams. But again, the power and the speed of Gonzalez and Kai was just too much for Moon and Blackheart. Then of course you had Johnny Gargano versus Kushida for the North American title. Gargano ended up defeating Kushida in an incredible match. In fact, I think that was the longest. That was actually the second longest match on the card, which this one lasted 24 minutes and 51, almost 25 minutes. Whereas opposed to the main event, it actually lasted 25 minutes and 11 seconds, which was incredible. Then of course, MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, where MSK ended up winning it. But again, as I said moments ago, the question is, can MSK run it back twice? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's not me for me personally. I don't think it's possible. If they can pull it off, then I will be very, very surprised. But I mean, GYV they've been extremely impressive since coming to NXT here in the States over the last few years. They've been dominant, but I don't think their time is now. I think they still have a lot to learn. Then, of course, we had Io Shirai versus Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez, both superstars of which are no longer with WWE. In fact, I think Toni Storm got released from WWE right after her match with Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title, which was very sad. Very, very sad. She could have done a lot more on SmackDown, honestly. But it is what it is. And then I think Mercedes Martinez, I think he's with AEW from what I've seen on social media. But it was a triple threat match for the NXT Women's title. Shirai picked up the victory on that one. And then, of course, Finn Balor against Pete Dunne for the NXT title. Balor ended up winning that match. But if you look at this card compared to... If you look at last year's card compared to this year, I truly think that this card might just top last year. Last year was pretty good, but the only downside was the fact that with the NXT Women's title match, it was basically a match that it only took place just so Io Shirai can get even more over with the fans and with the entire WWE, instead of making Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez look good, they made Io Shirai look even better. That's like the only downside, but honestly, I wasn't complaining. I was not complaining. But I have to admit, this matchup, Toxic Attraction against Hartwell and Parada, just might be the sleeper, because ever since Dolan and Jane aligned themselves with Mandy Rose, Toxic Attraction has been extremely dominant. They've been extremely dominant, and I have to admit, they've been a dominant team since becoming tag team champions. I think what was it, Halloween Havoc, if I remember correctly. So I am really looking forward to it. But I do want to point out that I will be posting live on Instagram the card, just like I do with all of the other pay-per-views that I've done over the years, over the last year or so. I will be posting them live. So make sure you guys do follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. The link is in the description. But I do have Twitter, so if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, both of my links will also be in the description as well. But as far as who I think is going to win, I think, honestly, as much as a lot of people want to see Hartwell and Parada take it, I think Toxic Attraction is going to take it. There's no way in hell that Dolan and Jane are going to go down without a fight. There's no way in hell. I think Toxic Attraction, they're gonna run the women's division with an iron fist. Then, of course, we got Dangelo versus Dunne in a weaponized steel cage, in the cage that started it all, going back to their match at War Games, which was a hell of a match, I have to admit. I'm gonna be honest. There's been rumors going around saying that Pete Dunne had been spotted on the SmackDown on SmackDown as part of their dark matches against guys like Tommaso Ciampa and LA Knight. So it's possible we could see Pete Dunne in the main roster, but I don't think his time is up. I don't think his time in NXT is up. I think he still needs to potentially go after the North American title, maybe even go after the NXT title, win it, hold it for about, say what, 5-6 months, maybe 7 months, drop it, and then he'll go into the main roster. I think that's what needs to be done. But this rivalry has been going on ever since 2.0 started. Ever since the revamp of NXT started back in September, this rivalry has been going on for months. And next week, it finally comes ahead. Honestly, if you really think about it, experience is going to be the number one key factor going into this match. So Pete Dunne does have the advantage. Plus, he's been inside the steel before. Has been inside the steel before. Tony D'Angelo, he's been in War Games. That's one steel. That's one cage. That's it. That's the only match he's ever been in since coming to NXT. That being said, I think Pete Dunne has the advantage going into this one, so I'm sticking with the Bruiserweight. And then of course, the main event: Bron Breakker versus Santos Escobar for the NXT title. This will be, I said it on my Instagram story, and I'll say it again. This is the most anticipated match in months. We have been wanting this for quite a while because when you think about dream matches in NXT, you think of AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller that we had last month at New Year's Evil, which was an impressive. It was an impressive match by Grayson Waller, but he was not phenomenal like AJ Styles. So this is one match that I am definitely looking forward to seeing the most, and the reason why is because Bron Breakker has been a hell of a dominant superstar since coming to NXT. His debut match just dominated, just clapped it up, easy. So I know for a fact that Bron Breakker is going to be a force to be reckoned with. But Santos Escobar is probably the biggest threat to Breakker's reign as champion. Not just because of the fact that he's gonna have all the members of Legado del Fantasma in his corner, but it's also because of the fact that Santos Escobar. People forget that he was one of the longest reigning Cruiserweight champions in NXT history, second to, obviously, Jordan Devlin, which his run as champion, I loved it. It was incredible, in my personal opinion. So, that's one thing that Braun has to be mindful of, it's basically a battle between power and strength versus speed and agility. And the question remains, who wins? That is the big question. This is one match I cannot call. This is a very hard match to call. But if I was a betting man, I would put my money on Santos Escobar. I think Santos might be able to pull it off. But if you guys watched NXT last night at the time that I'm recording this video, which will be the same day I'm posting it, you will know that we had Tommaso Ciampa show up to the NXT Championship Summit, and Dolph Ziggler showed up. Apparently he wants the NXT title. Not sure if that's wise, because if a Raw superstar like Dolph Ziggler wins the NXT title, this would mean that Dolph Ziggler would be the second main roster superstar to win a NXT title at a show, at any given show, no matter what it is. Charlotte Flair ended up being the first by defeating Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, when it was at the PC, which was it was interesting to say the very least. But that brings me to the question of the day. Of all these matches, what are your predictions for NXT Vengeance Day, and will LA Knight truly get arrested? Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think LA Knight is going to get arrested. I think that rivalry is far from done. But let me know in the comments below, and that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want to see more predictions like this in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. All the links will be in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.